Right, name pronunciations. Pronunciations can be a nightmare. There's various ways you can get over that. If you've got really, really long multiple syllable names, I like to draw a line along the various syllables and simplify it, or write it out again phonetically. So it doesn't make any, the way you write it might not have any bearing on the actual spelling of the name, but if it makes sense to you phonetically, do it that way. The other thing that can happen, names that, and this might sound a bit weird, names that look dead easy on paper might be a name that you particularly find awkward. I'll give you one example. I work on snooker. I've just done the World Championships. Snooker is the other sport that I do most of the time when I'm not on athletics. And there's a snooker player called Ricky Walden. Now, for some weird reason, I find I'm fine with R's, I'm fine with S's, I'm lucky that I'm okay with my enunciations. But for some reason, I've always got an instinct to trip up over that name. And I've done live a couple of times on BBC Two. I've called him Ricky Waldron. Ricky Walden. So I only knew that I had an issue with his name when I read it out. So I would give you a little bit of advice. Go down, and if you've got even 30 seconds, go down your lineup of 8. I mean, you can't do this if it's a 5,000 because there's too many names. You might, if you've only got 30 seconds, you're going to have to cherry pick a few. But on a sprint where you've only got a maximum of 8 or an 800, read the names out loud, even if they look simple names, because as I said, Ricky Walden on paper looks simple. Now the rest of you might go, Ricky Walden's dead easy. No, there's nothing wrong with that name. But for some reason, the way my tongue and my mouth works, I have to really think very hard before giving his name. And then there might be other things you can do. Again, this might be more relevant for an international broadcast, but names from Thailand, or if you've got people of Thai descent, they can have massive names which are very, very difficult to pronounce, but they also might be quite amenable to only one of their names being referred to. And that's not a question of disrespecting their heritage. Many athletes are quite cool if you only pick one name. So if you've got a little bit of information, or you know someone who knows them, and there's a really long, really complicated name, especially if it's in 100 meters where, if they begin to feature, by the time you've got your head around pronouncing the name correctly, they're already at bloody 50 meters. So it might be worth finding out what the athlete's comfortable being called as well, and sticking to that. But the name of the game is you've got to be consistent. Again, you're announcing at an event, you're giving your time for free. If you just can't get your head around someone's pronunciation, try and get it as close as possible, but be consistent. Fewer people will notice if you're not pronouncing it correctly if you say it the same way every time, because they might think, I always thought it was pronounced like that, but he or she is pronouncing it like this. So, wow, okay, cool. So if you just can't get your head around the name at all, get it wrong consistently. But of course, if you can, write it phonetically. My gosh, I could be speaking for hours here. Sorry, Alison, I'm going to try and hurry up. Multiple events. I think you're a little bit like a signposting conductor. That's not to big up the role too much, but you all follow athletics. One of the reasons I love athletics is you're weaving this incredible tapestry together of women's high jumpers, women's shot putters, men's pole vaulters, combined events on the back straight, semi-finals of the men's 110 hurdles. You've got the men's first round of the eights. You're weaving this whole thing together, and you can't possibly be expected to do that seamlessly all the time. But you have got multiple events happening at any one time. Just take a minute to signpost it. You might say, let's imagine you got, obviously the big thing with athletics is always going to be, don't forget the field events. But say you've got an 800 unfolding in front of you, but you know there's a cracking discus competition going. There might be somebody with whom you're on a walkie-talkie, and for whatever reason, you know, the communication has fallen down a bit, and you've forgotten to look at the revolving scoreboard giving you the updates of the disc. So in that context, you might just say, right, you know, fantastic. Right, on the track, we've got these, you know, the under-20s semis of the 800 meters, and boy, oh boy, you know, what a great final this is going to be. We've got some talented kids on display here. We haven't forgotten about the men's discus. We'll bring you those results as soon as these 800s are over. So you're signposting that it's happening, because, again, it's more a case, if it's not for TV, it's people might be sort of thinking, oh, well, my nephew's running the whatever. I've now got 2 hours to kill because he's gone on a warm down and he's having a massage or whatever. So they might think, oh, well, what else are we supposed to watch? And they might hear you going, well, you know, the men's discus, or maybe if you've really got time, you might have 2 stats. You might say, oh, you know, there's a couple of kids in the discus who have been threatening the English record, and that's unfolding over on the far side now. So I think it's just a case with the multiple events happening all the time, just signpost what's going on. And remember what I said before about don't feel as though you have to give all the information and all the results really quickly. Give yourself a little bit of thinking time. Use of equipment. Look, to me, what that means is familiarise yourself with the kit. If you are new to stadium announcing, maybe you're self-conscious at hearing your own voice coming out of a speaker. The other thing that can happen, and if you test this out before people arrive, you have time, if you've got somebody there helping you with the technical stuff, they might be able to help you out with hearing yourself back on a delay. Nothing. I've been working on TV for 21, 22 years, and I'm okay at various things going wrong, but the thing that destroys people's ability to think quickly more than anything else is hearing themselves back on a delay. Like, you have to concentrate in a broadcasting context. You have to concentrate so hard when that's happening to completely disregard the booming noise that's coming back at you 5 seconds after you said it. That's really difficult. It's not impossible, but it is hard. So turning up and testing the kit early might give you the opportunity to go, hang on, any chance we could turn that one off? Or is it forewarned is forearmed, and it's the 6 Ps, isn't it? Proper planning and preparation prevent poor performance. And even just knowing the fact in advance that there might be an issue with the speakers and they can't fix it, even knowing that in advance means when you start talking, you go, right, I'm going to hear myself back here in 5 seconds' time, and I've just got to find a way of blocking it out. You're a little bit more ready for that scenario to unfold. But always check the kit. And again, if you are someone who feels a bit self-conscious of hearing your own voice, nobody can force you to relax into that. It wouldn't be fair for anyone to say that. But the more you do it, the more you will get used to it. But when I very rarely watch anything back that I'm on, because when I got together with my wife many years ago, she said, look, she's got nothing to do with TV. She works with kids. And she was cool about the job, but she's not into sports. So she wasn't blown away by that, which is good. And she just said to me, look, I mentioned to her that I know a lot of people in broadcasting who are obsessed about watching things they're in back, not to correct themselves, but because, you know, it's a nice ego massage. As she said to me right at the beginning, look, we're just not going to be that kind of couple. I'm not going to be that kind of wife watching it all back. She'll tune in if she knows it's important to me, like London Marathon or something. But anyway, even though I don't watch tons of my stuff back, it just doesn't bother me. I don't have an ego about it, but my voice is my voice. It just sounds, I'm so used to it now. And you will find the more you do PA work, the less self-conscious you will feel about how other people are perceiving your voice, because of course the only person to whom it sounds weird is you. Your voice sounds exactly the same to everyone else. It's only your perception of it. But it can take a few people a little while to get to that. Sense of humour. Jeff Whiteman loves coming out with all the wisecracks, and he's really good at that. I wouldn't have the same repartee. I wouldn't have the same library of jokes and puns immediately up my sleeve. So you just kind of you do it how it comes naturally to you. And again, you have a laugh with it. Like say if I've done this, where say you've got a results caption coming up. I know this is more television. I'm just giving you the example of humorising a mistake. You got a results caption coming up for semi-finals of the men's 4 hurdles, and the event was 10 minutes ago. They're just sort of they're just dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and you've got the results come up, and you say, well, Carsten Warholm there, 400 hurdles, absolutely brilliant performance, qualifying, and you just misread it. You end up saying something like, I don't know, 13.5, thinking it's 110. You go, Warholm there, 13.5 seconds, or you might not be looking at the graphic. Warholm coming home there, brilliant time. And then afterwards you think, well, as you're saying, you think, oh, hang on a minute, that's 110. So you then just say, well, of course, if he had just run the 4 hurdles in 13.5, it would be an unbelievable world record. Of course, he's just run, 49.6 or whatever it might be. So you just have we're all human and things slip out that don't mean to. So you just have a laugh with it. As you see the picture there of Danny Crates, I've got to tell you this story. I'm still only on page 3. Alison, you've got to keep me posted on the time. Sorry. Danny Crates and I were commentating at the Paralympics together. And those of you who know Danny will know he's a T46 Armam 800-metre champion from Athens. And there's a Tunisian guy who's been around for donkey's years, Sami Nouiouar. It's a cool name. Anyway, so Danny and I are commentating on this 800, and this is Danny's event, and it's the guy that he always had the rivalry with, and he's coming out with some great lines and heading down the back straight. Well, Nouiouar, I might be 10 kilos heavier, but he's still doing it, blah, 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 blah. And it's all about Nouiouar, Sami Nouiouar, and I'm just letting him wax lyrical, like, oh, this is great, it's your event, you crack on. And then he comes up towards, he led himself down a massive cul-de-sac by just saying, and he laughs about this with me now, so I'm not going behind his back. He's coming up towards the bell and he's handing it back to me. And he leads himself down this garden path by going, he's been so fixated on Nouiouar, he's taken no notice, and fair enough, of who's in 2nd, 3rd or 4th. It's like 2 different races. Nouiouar's about 3 seconds clear coming up to the bell. And he's going on about, and Sami Nouiouar, and Nouiouar leads from, this is all live, leads from that other bloke in 2nd. And we just honestly, I'll never forget that, because it was just such a human thing to do, because he was getting so worked up about his old rival, Nouiouar. And we were both laughing on air, and we had a great chuckle about that over a beer afterwards. So just if you cock something up, just have a laugh with it, because that's just how it goes. You are going to make mistakes, and people will you'll almost endear yourself to them more if you're showing you're not trying to hide behind those mistakes.